Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Clicks and Commerce. Today, we are joined by a special guest, Mr. Pankaj Vermani, who is founder and CEO of Clovia. Hi, Pankaj.
Hi. Thank you for having me on the show.
Great. So, firstly, would like to begin with the consumer preferences. Like we have seen a lot of consumers shopping from online channels and offline channels these days, and their preferences have evolved over the years. So, how has your mission evolved over the years since your launch, and how do you see the current consumers in Indian landscape?
See, for us, when we started, we started with something which we call the Mission 50 million, right? So we had to impact 5 crore lives in this country. The mission has always, there's no point having a small mission anyways, right? So it was such a tall order that we continue to work towards it. I think we would not even be halfway there, much lower than halfway still. So I think it's a very long way to go. But our intent is very simple. We have to impact, 5 crore lives in this country. And the intent continues to be the same, that the brand stands for happiness, the brand stands for joy. So how do you spread joy? By means of giving them the right product, as an innerwear, which is a second skin product, in their lives, and one customer at a time. So 5 crore is a long way to go.
Superb. So, interestingly, you are in an exciting category currently. So, how do you see the biggest shift in the consumer landscape currently in tier 2 and tier 3 cities also? Like most of the consumers these days are looking for more online channel and online experience, a seamless experience over both the channels. So, how do you see the biggest shifts in the consumer landscape?
I think a shift from a landscape perspective has been more around awareness. See, when we started, the brand started in 2015. At that point of time, we saw more and more, we always were very worried that education is going to be a big, because education is costly, right? So if I have to educate the customer, right, it is going to be a very expensive affair. So we always thought that, it is going to be a very tough road ahead. But what we realized is that, all thanks to the social media, all thanks to, all sorts of OTTs around, people were exposed to a lot more awareness in the ecosystem, and over a period of time it's only evolved. So shift in the landscape is what used to be probably we would find 5 to 7% customers aware of the right sizing, the right fit, the right product. Today the number would be probably upwards of 50%. So it only makes our life a lot easier. Other thing is that earlier the focus of all the brands was around distribution. Nobody focused too much on product. But as the customer evolves and starts asking the right questions, the brands also have to come up. And our whole thesis was that, we're going to give people the right product, and even if they're not aware they're not wearing the right thing, the aha moment that they get once they wear the product, they will start getting aware. So we started with that journey, but now more and more customers are coming back to us and giving us ideas. And I think that's a beautiful shift, because that will always keep the brands on their toes, that will always make brands think more. And if the product grows, the customer will grow, the entire ecosystem grows. So I think both sides have changed. The brands have also started their focus shifted more from distribution to, to the product side, and the customer, of course, has evolved more and more in terms of understanding what she really wants.
Sure. So we have seen competition also increasing in this space. In last few years, we have seen post-pandemic specifically, a lot of D2C brands have entered the market through online channels and through offline channels also. So how do you see that competition and technology evolving over the years?
Internet is the biggest democracy in the world, right? And democracy brings equal opportunity. That's the fundamental of democracy, right? So, what these online ecosystems have done is that the barrier to entry has become smaller. Everybody can now build a brand, and I think that's a beautiful place to be, right? So, for example, if you were a designer earlier, you had to work for somebody and probably, be part of a much bigger ecosystem. Today, you can start a label in your name, and if people like you. You can start with your social media handle, and and slowly things can improve. So I think that opportunity is there. In terms of competition, frankly, this category is still very small. If you and I was speaking of the larger brands in US, and a single style of what their brand does, there's not even a brand which is big enough to even matching that number. Jo one bra does for them in terms of revenues, then two brands put together are not doing in India still. So I think the opportunity is huge. There is need for a lot more people to come out. There's a need for a lot more people to experiment and give customers what they want. And we will see a lot more action happening. And I think a lot more action will start happening in niches. right? There will be niches around specific needs, there will be niches around maternity, there will be niches around big sizes. So you'll see a lot of niches evolving, and I think that's only going to add to the ecosystem, because that will add more awareness will bring in more product will bring in a lot more consumption, so the overall ecosystem should go up. So I think competition is always a good idea, but we are at that stage of this category where every new entrant will only uplift the entire category.
Surely. So we have seen D2C players entering the quick commerce space as well. So how do you see different channels as a growth lever for you as well and for the category?
I think as we are all, the younger audience is coming in, right? We know that India is one of the youngest countries in the world, and youth is impatient. So I think more and more impatience will continue to happen. Q-commerce, and of course added to that impatience where people have started to understand, right? Today today if we had to buy a battery, we would wait for 2 days, next time anybody would go to the market, right? And today my son, like in 10 minutes, starts asking, has the battery arrived or not? So the entire ecosystem is being attuned to a very, very different, parameter of what speed is, right? So I think Q-commerce, for example, continues to do wonders for us. I mean, we've been a case study in a couple of marketplaces where people didn't even realize this a category like ours can actually do very well. So we'll continue to double down on that, So our mission and thesis combined together at just one actionable, which is be present at all the places where the customer is. So if the customer is at Q-commerce, I'll have to be there, right? So we continue to do that. From a tier perspective, I don't think there is a huge gap in terms of the consumption patterns, frankly, right? I mean, so we are at a place where we're getting agnostic to tiers, and so now the change you see is more around age groups versus tiers, frankly, and that's also a very interesting change. Maybe that's a conversation for a much longer conversation for another time.
So would like to understand more about the experience that you are providing, the kind of omni-channel experience that you provide to the consumers, like be it quick commerce, offline stores, and your own D2C platform. How are you providing that kind of experience across formats and across tiers?
See, the intent of the brand is that the experience has to be consistent across channels, across platforms, right? But the curation of products can happen basis what channel are you selling it and what tier are you selling it to, right? For example, if my own exclusive outlets in a tier 1 and a tier 2 store will have the exact same experience, but basis what the customer demands more, right? And frankly, it's not about tier also, I think it's more around catchment areas. There will be tier 2 pockets in tier 1 towns, and there will be tier 1 pockets in tier 2 towns also, right? So I'll give you a very interesting example. So this is one store that we have which is very close to a hub, which is a hub for gyms, right? I would put a lot more activewear there, right? It's a branded thing to do, and we started to see a lot more, action happening there. There are certain places where a lot more maternity product has started to work, in these days versus other things. So our whole thesis is, how do you use data to understand what will work the best for your customer, and how do you provide the right curation at the right place? Experience we don't want to, diminish or increase in any place depending on a certain assumption that a certain kind of customer will come. So, you can cut down a little bit on the experience just to, match up to your P&L. That is something that we don't do. But our whole intent is that how do you maximize on your revenues? When anybody who walks in, X percentage of your walk-ins have to convert, right? And that will only happen if you give them the right, product curation. And a plethora of products is huge. So curation becomes very, very critical.
Sure. So here I wanted to understand more about the demand part. I mean, where are you seeing most of your demand coming from? Is it from tier 1, tier 2 cities, or through different channels also? I mean, is quick commerce picking up pace for you, or e-commerce or D2C is still the winner for you?
So if we slice this into a horizontal and a vertical, right? Considering that the vertical become the channels and horizontal becomes the tiers, right? So I think demand is very tier agnostic is what we are seeing, right? I mean, earlier we used to think that tier 2 may not be that big a channel, right? Over the years, you started to see that tier 2 grew much faster than tier 1, right? And continues to be that, right? But today, I think we are at a very beautiful mix where tier 2 and 3 contribute to almost around 60-65% of the sales for the brand, right? And I think this ratio will continue to grow. From a channel perspective, D2C continues to grow very, very heavily, and we have always invested a lot of energy there. Q-commerce, as I just said, I think it's a beautiful time where everybody's restless, everybody wants it fast. So how much more can you be, how can you keep pace with that with that need is how you have to build it out. So that is something that we are working very strong on. And then of course we are agnostic. We work very closely with all the big marketplaces. We are the number one, number two player in almost all of the big marketplaces today. And our exclusive outlets continue to grow. We keep adding more and more exclusive outlets today. We have almost 85 outlets right now. And now what we're realizing is that because there's a huge market of mom and pop stores also which remains open. So some time ago we started with a general trade business as well, and which is doing wonders for us. So now I have no channel which is not checked, for me to execute on. Of course, every channel has its own nuances. Every channel has its own challenges, its own way of progressing. So you need different mindsets and KPIs to work on each one.
Sure. So is there, like you just mentioned about the data part also, so you utilize a lot of data to personalize the experience for the consumer. So is there any kind of usage of AI that you are doing currently across your business, or in terms of product innovation also, if you are using any kind of technology?
See, initially what we did was we built in our own engines, and there's a lot of technology that we built in-house. I've talked a lot about it. We have something called the Monk, a sensei with the sixth sense. So the Monk was an engine that we wrote, which would do this demand planning for us, and a lot of energy went into that, right? And this is happening since 2015, right? So early 20s, right? And last 2 years when the AI boom started to happen, you started to realize there are a lot of these beautiful things can now start happening in a lot more intelligent ways, right? So earlier things were happening on heuristics, where you took a certain assumption and basis that you build things out, and basis the responses that you saw, right? If my sale is increasing, heuristic is working. You will fine tune the heuristic, right? Today, AI gives you a lot more out of the box intelligence, right? So all you have to do is like feed it like a whole set of data, which is something that we are very rich on. So long story short, we are deeply involved in AI right now. There is a huge effort that is going on across the board, all the way from demand planning to designing, and frankly, it wasn't even us pushing the team. A lot more intuitive effort came from the team itself, where they said, hey, this is something that I can cut down my time on. And we continue to encourage, right? And we've always been a very technology first company, right? And so it's part of our DNA. So we have seen timelines being cut down at multiple places, all the way from production to the planning side of it, and now to the sales side of it, where AI started to play a very big role. And I think it is only going to get more and more, deeper intertwined in the business.
Sure. So technology and AI is one thing that you will be betting big on. And moving forward also, is there any kind of investment that you plan to make on technology, or any other thing that you see as a major focus area for you in next 12 to 18 months?
See, tech and product are, so product tech and the IT tech, these are the two parts which we have always, that's the only place where we bet our efforts, right? Everything else is channel, everything else is experience, marketing, branding, right? But for us, these are the two core things that we have invested our energy into, and that has not changed. It hasn't changed in whatever 10 years we've been in the business, and it will not change in the next 1.5 years as well. We continue to double down there. The only thing is that now tech is responding much better to what it used to respond earlier, right? Today, I can do it much faster than I could do it 10 years ago, and it only makes us more happy and excited. So product technology, product innovation is something we'll continue to work on, and more deeper and deeper intertwining into the tech ecosystem.
Sure, absolutely. I think there are some rapid fire questions for you now. So quickly, I'll just throw my questions and you can just give us short answers. So one thing about one trend that you think is going to stay for a long time now.
Yeah, so I think one trend that we personally are very, very bullish about is body positivity. I think when we started the business, we were always very uncomfortable with the thought where we said that there's only a certain kind of body types which everybody caters to, and we set out with the mission that we were going to cater to as many body types as possible. And today it continues to become a mandate, and I think I wish and pray that this continues to even become more and more important to everyone.
Sure. So a buzzword you are tired of hearing.
Omnichannel. I think people don't even know sometimes what omnichannel means, right? Sometimes they call multi-channel as omnichannel, and it's just excruciating.
Great. So one thing about the consumer collaboration. I mean, we have seen a lot of brands doing influencer or the celebrity collaborations. So are you doing any consumer collaboration?
See, from our perspective, the consumer has always been our voice, right? Consumer has been, word of mouth has been our single biggest customer acquisition engine. Social media has always helped us, get more voice. Earlier, people were a little hesitant of talking about innerwear, and of course, the more categories came in which people will talk about. Now, people are happy to talk about innerwear as well. I think collaboration with the customer continues to be important to us. We are very deeply rooted in that sense also. There are certain customers where we will find that there's an issue that has come to a customer. We would try our best to solve it. We have gone to airports to deliver. We have understood their anniversaries, and we've done whatever we could to make that anniversary better. So we'll continue to do that. If some of it kind of gets leaked and goes to social media, we will not mind.
Perfect. So one market that you are excited about, I mean, is it domestic or global? And in domestic also, which markets?
See, I'm a very, very strong believer that domestic, there is so much to do right now. We do a huge amount of business outside also now, right? Globally, we have a sizable business which has started to happen. But I continue to be a very, very firm believer that India is still scratching the surface. And given a choice, if I would double down on India versus go to another territory, I would continue to double down on India. I think it's the most beautiful time in the most beautiful country in the world to be.
Definitely. I think great insights and great candid conversation with you, Pankaj. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me here.